What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes. So I'm just trying out a new series just to see people like it or not. If people like it, then I'll continue on with this series. So this is going to be a Resplendent review series where I take a look at the unit who just got a Resplendent version in FEH Pass. Now I don't have FEH Pass myself on any of my accounts, but still this pretty much gives me the opportunity to look back at units that are old and give updated builds for them, and also look at them and see how well they are doing in current environment of the game. Now obviously if you don't have FEH Pass, you could still make use of these builds. Obviously it's just that you're not going to be getting the +2 to each stat. So I really like that idea, so I'm just trying this out. Let me know if you like it, and this is just going to be an in-depth analysis on Caeda and how Resplendent stats affect her and what builds you can run on her. So with that said, let us begin.
Do you feel a chill?
Caeda, in my opinion, still holds up pretty decently well in today's metagame. She's no insane Eliwood with that blazing Durandal refine, but still she's quite decent, and she is kind of unique because of her wing sword. So wing sword is a weapon which is a 16-might weapon. It has got effectiveness against cavalry units and armored units, and the weapon refine is basically flashing blade. So that flashing blade refine is definitely pretty unique because flyers don't have access to it, and it provides a way of special cooldown charging without occupying her slot A or Sacred Seal slot. So that can definitely be a pretty good thing, and there are not a lot of flyers who could do that kind of thing. So that definitely makes her pretty unique. As for her stats, her attack is painfully low. She does have a super boon in attack, and obviously Resplendent stats do help this a bit. And she's a pretty good user of those Resplendent stats because she can run builds that can work for both phases. The extra speed and resistance definitely help her with Pegasus Flight, and also help her with the iceberg damage output. And every point of attack really helps a unit like her who has originally such a low attack stat. And in my opinion, the extra speed stat which she gets out of Resplendent is really nice for committing to a plus attack IV, which is a super boon, and it is super necessary for getting extra damage. So she doesn't really have to run plus speed to function with her wing sword. The extra speed stat definitely helps with that. She's a 3-star 4-star unit, and she's really easy to plus and merge, and many people already have plus and merge Caedas, so they are definitely going to be appreciating the Resplendent stats. As for IVs, I really prefer plus attack IV over plus speed IV. I do have a highly merged Caeda, and she definitely needs that plus attack IV in many scenarios in today's metagame. Extra speed is really nice for doubling and all, but like that attack is just so lacking, so I really love plus attack IV over plus speed IV. Again, it's up to the preference, but I really like that plus attack IV. It just does so much for her. And if you get the Resplendent version, then she pretty much gets +6 attack if you go with the attack super boon, so that brings her up to like 31 base attack. And I think this is a pretty good opportunity to talk about Pegasus Flight, which is a pretty niche skill, but Caeda is one of the best users of it, so that's why I want to talk about it. So it basically is a slot B skill for flyers, and flyers don't really have too many options for slot B, so this is a really nice option for Caeda. And not too many flyers can use this because you need speed stat and you need resistance stat. So basically at start of combat, if unit speed is more than foe speed -7, then she can inflict attack and defense penalty during the combat, which is going to be a difference between the resistance stats of Caeda and their opponent. And just to keep in mind, this compares the in-combat speed for actually activating the skill, and after you have activated the first condition, it then checks the visible resistance stat of Caeda and foe. So it pretty much takes in-combat speed but out-of-combat resistance during the comparison, and you pretty much need to have extra 14 resistance if you want to get the max -7 debuff on the foe during the combat. And her having this high resistance definitely makes it much better, and the fact that she's easily plus and mergeable, that can just help her increase her resistance. So she's definitely one of the best users of Pegasus Flight, and there are not really many flyers who can make use of this. Getting debuffs can be really annoying on some of these newer units who have pretty high resistance, but she definitely makes better use of Pegasus Flight than most of the other flying units. As I said, Caeda can definitely hold up decently well in today's age, and she's not really going to be too insane or anything like that, but she can just do decently well even in modern age. Caeda can provide pretty nice utility for arena assault if you're just going to be using her on budget, so that is always going to be pretty nice for dealing with armor units and stuff like that. And she's still a competent Gale Force flyer because of her weapon refine, which has got flashing blade, and flyers don't really have access to it normally, so she can still do that role pretty decently well. She doesn't really have much competition when it comes to free-to-play sword flyers. Lance flyers have got pretty insane amount of competition, but it's not the same for Caeda, so that's definitely much better for her, and it's going to be making it easier for you to invest into her. And she becomes even better user of Pegasus Flight, and Resplendent stats really help with that. So if you do have that lying around on Fiora, then you could definitely build up Caeda, and she's going to be doing a fantastic job with that. Her attack stat is always going to be an issue if she's not facing an armor unit or a cavalry unit, because units nowadays can be extremely bulky, so it can be really hard for her to do damage, especially if you're using Gale Force. And using something like Iceberg or Glacies could be a way of doing damage because she does have massive resistance. So that is going to be the decision if you want to go with the damaging special or you want to go with Gale Force. If you're going to be using Caeda on budget and you don't really care about plus 10 merging her or using her with high investment, then Fury is basically going to be her best slotted skill. And for Arena Assault, you could definitely go with Axebreaker. That can definitely help you with those Axe armors. And Luna is going to be extremely good in Arena Assault because she can just slay through those high defense armors. Luna, Iceberg, Glacies, Moonbow, all of those are pretty great options for her special. And you could go with the same for the second build. You could also utilize like Ploy skills. In Slot C, they're not the greatest, honestly, but on budget, they can definitely do a decent job. I feel like at lower merges, she could use plus speed IV to get value out of her wing sword so that she can, charge up her specials and stuff like that. Which means that you're going to be losing out on definitely quite a bit of attack by not going for the attack super boon. On budget, you could run Gale Force, but she's really not going to be hitting hard whatsoever, so just keep that in mind. Now let's talk about heavy investment on Caeda. And this could also be useful for the people who already have her at plus 10 merge. So I feel like Pegasus Flight is definitely her best slot B option. She's one of the best users of it, so you should definitely go for that. And Distant Counter allows her to function in the enemy phase, and in Slot Z, you definitely want to run a Rain skill. That is extremely good. And this kind of first build is definitely one of the best builds for her. And Iceberg can give you a pretty nice damage output, and you could even run something like Ether if you want to have healing. And you could also run Fury 4. Keep in mind, as I said, Pegasus Flight does check out of combat resistance, so that's why Fury 4 is actually pretty nice for increasing her visible resistance. And you could inherit Fury 4 and Attack Speed Rain at the same time from Brave Claude if you really like Caeda. So that could be done, and you could run Pegasus Flight in Slot B and run a Gale Force build. And you could also run Dive Bomb from Pirate Tibarn. You obviously don't need Heavy Blade on Slot A, so you could run something like Swiss Sparrow 3, which doesn't really have any kind of recall damage. And I feel like Speed Defense Rain is an insane skill for Caeda because she definitely needs some help in doing more damage. And Speed Defense Rain is basically Swiss Sparrow, but for Slot C that's gonna be active all the time. And even allies could take advantage of this. So Speed Defense Rain is easily like her best Slot C skill in my opinion on high investment. Quicken Pulse does make Gale Force a 4-turn special. In Arena, if you don't really care too much about staying in Tier 21 Arena, then she's a pretty decent user of R-Dual Flying, and it is going to be a bit harder to trigger Pegasus Flight against these armor units with insane resistance, but she could definitely use some support from her teammates to buff those stats up, and she could definitely provide you with the guidance support, which is going to be pretty invaluable in Arena. She's just a 170 BST unit, so this is going to be pretty nice if you just want to stay in Tier 19 or Tier 20 or 20.5. So there she could definitely be helpful in taking care of the armor units and dragon units. You could inherit Attack Speed Push 4 and Speed Defense Rain at the same time from Jill if you do sacrifice a Petrine for Attack Speed Push 3, and those skills are pretty nice for a premium Gale Force build. You can run a mixed phase build with Gale Force as well if you just want to use her in both phases, and for that you're definitely going to be lacking in some damage output as you're not running Iceberg, so you could go with Attack Defense Solo and that could help you get some extra damage output. She could be used in Aetherwaite's offense. The higher speed and resistance is definitely going to be pretty amazing there, and she can be worked out in Astra Season. Summoner support is pretty nice on a unit like her who can make use of all of her stats, and that extra buff in the visible resistance is definitely going to be coming into the play. So you could go with the Attack Refine on Wing Sword, because I feel like you don't really need Flashing Blade Refine in Aetherwaite's offense. You're not really going to be getting much out of charging your special like that. And I think having it might be a disadvantageous thing if you're not running Gale Force, because Flashing Blade with Wing Sword pretty much charges up your soul so that you can retaliate back with it on the same combat on your last hit. And at that point, the enemy has already taken a bit of damage, so you're not going to be recovering that much HP. I feel like going with the Attack Refine is definitely a bit better to one-shot units, because she definitely lacks in the attack department. And you could run Pegasus Flight, Pulse Smoke, and Distant Counter. And she could be a pretty decent tank actually if you run her with something like this. Seteth is definitely a pretty nice option with her for support, as he has got Spear of Acil, pretty much provide her with double goat flyers, and he can actually soak both Bright Shrine and Dark Shrine for Sheeta, which is really amazing, and she's not really going to be getting affected by those shrine debuffs. And you could run her with Altina and Plumeria. Plumeria can actually be a pretty nice thing with Sabotage Speed, which she comes with, and can provide that kind of support as well. And the other flyers can just run Ward flyers too, if you want to give her some bulky support. And the reason why I said Attack Refine is pretty nice is because she can actually one-shot a plus 10 merge max investment Eliwood, even if you've got the buff from Whimsical Dream of Mirabilis, which is pretty amazing because Eliwood can be really annoying in it, and that effective damage from Wingsword can definitely come into the play in Astro Season against Dumas. And of course, Eliwood is just so common that she definitely appreciates the effective damage and can actually one-shot him if she gets enough attack support like she does here from Seteth, and also the Attack Refine. So this is just an example of what you could do in Aether Raid's offense with her. You could also use her in the light season as a Gale Force unit with Gale Force team, so she could drop in with Wings of Mercy and just Gale Force pretty easily without requiring special boosting skill in Slaughter or Sacred Seal, because Wing Sword's special acceleration is really nice. Quick on Pulse is needed to make Gale Force a 4-turn special, so that she could Gale Force out of the range units who cannot retaliate back to her. In Aether Raid's defense, you could run her with Mirror Impact and basically have her as a nuke with Iceberg. And Speed Boon is definitely going to be required because you're going to be facing a lot of tanks attacking your defense team. So if you're specifically trying to use her for a flyer ball team, or just as a defense unit with a lot of flyers, then Speed Boon is definitely going to be helpful, I feel like, because you want to outspeed all of these offensive units who are going to be attacking you, and it's pretty easy to stack up speed on offense, so that's why speed could be helpful, because you definitely want to charge up your Iceberg. So that is going to be my review for Sheeta, a Resplendent review, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to share this video with your friends who are thinking of building up Sheeta because she got her Splendid version. And I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support, it really means a lot. And if you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment, helps me tremendously, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I wish YouTube sub boxes also had Flashing Blade Refine like Sheeta. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.